Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, aka Darthinition, and with the Mandalorian season finale dropping yesterday, we finally got a look at the series' big bad. Working from the shadows in typical Star Wars fashion, Moff Gideon has been behind the entire arc of the season, secretly hunting Baby Yoda and using his puppet the Client to get the creature in order to achieve his goals. But who is the character, and how does he have one of the most valuable weapons in the entire galaxy? Well, throughout this video we're going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about Moff Gideon, including his backstory, career in the Empire, and giving our theories on how he came to possess the Darksaber. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to watch episode 8 yet and don't want to know what happens, then I highly suggest that you turn off now. With that out of the way, I just want to give a huge thank you for clicking this video. Now let's get into our breakdown of Moff Gideon. Okay, so we actually got our first glimpse of Moff Gideon way back at the end of episode 5 of The Mandalorian. This episode revolved around Mando tracking down a dangerous bounty with a fresh-faced mercenary named Toro, played by Jake Cannavale. This put them on the warpath with a dangerous rogue Imperial soldier named Fennec Shand. Toro was killed off, and it's a good thing too, cause he's been slagging off the rise of Skywalker on Instagram. You'll not be featuring in the MCU anytime soon, mate. Though the two managed to take her down, the episode ended with a mysterious character approaching her body, and from this little glimpse, many were convinced that this was Boba Fett making a return. Eagle-eyed viewers even lined up the sounds of the character's spurs and said how similar they were to sound effects heard in The Return of the Jedi. To me though, the cape was extremely similar to the shots that we got of Gideon in the trailer, and this style was something that Fett never wore. Jon Favreau quickly dismissed these rumours, saying that Boba Fett would not be appearing in the show and that the season was going to be made up of entirely new characters. IMDb would later go on to confirm that this was Gideon, so we now know for definite that this was the character's first appearance. He lay low after this, not returning until episode 7, appearing as a hologram to the Client and then making a grand entrance in a brand new Outland TIE Fighter. It was an awesome way to introduce the character, and it quickly propped him up as one of the most intimidating villains that we've seen in Star Wars for a long time. He pretty much had the characters locked into a kill box and commanded a wave of stormtroopers, scout troopers, and the ever-terrifying death troopers. Death troopers made their first appearance in Rogue One and quickly became one of the coolest looking aspects of that movie. They primarily work as bodyguards for high-ranking Imperial officers and are also masters of stealth, marksmanship, and hand-to-hand combat. Death troopers are trained to be exceptional, and they specialise in heavy weapons, demolitions, and guerrilla warfare, and are some of the deadliest Imperial soldiers that exist in the galaxy, hence their name. We also learn that before being promoted to the rank of Moff, Gideon was a member of the Imperial Security Bureau, or ISB for short. This was a law enforcement branch and intelligence agency of the Empire that pretty much worked as their version of internal affairs. They were in charge of state security, and Gideon was tasked with weeding out those who may be disloyal to the cause before they defected to the rebellion. In order to achieve a position in the ISB, Imperial officers have to show staples of loyalty towards the Empire, and thus only the most dedicated are picked to join their ranks. Gideon is adept at torture and weeding out those who may betray the Empire, and due to this he has a high level of abilities in espionage and infiltration. Imagine AC-12 from Line of Duty but with lightsabers. Anyway, lightsabers brings us to our next question. How is it that Moff Gideon was able to obtain the Darksaber? Well, we do discover in episode 8 that during his time in the ISB, Gideon was tasked with making sure that Mandalore and its people remain loyal to the Empire, and he took part in a massacre of the planet's population that was later labelled the Night of 1,000 Tears. This great purge pretty much wiped out the majority of the planet and sent those who survived into hiding. Gideon was so instrumental in this genocide that Mando even knows his name based purely off reputation and his actions during this purge. Gideon not only seized the secret record of Mandalorian identities during this time, but it also looks like he gained the Darksaber as well. The Darksaber is actually a ceremonial Mandalorian weapon that was created by the first ever Mandalorian to be inducted into the Jedi Order. Since then, the Darksaber has been passed down from generation to generation, and it's typically carried by the leader of the Mandalorians. Those who are familiar with the animated Star Wars series Rebels will know that the last Mandalorian to wield the weapon was Bo-Katan, who became leader of the people at the end of the show. I doubt that Bo-Katan would part with it willingly, and thus from this we can assume that Gideon killed her during the Purge. The Darksaber is a symbol of leadership in the House of Vizsla, and due to Mandalorian customs, one can only obtain it by defeating its previous owner in combat. This answers the fate of the character, and Gideon has clearly been using the powerful weapon to hunt down the Mandalorians, as we know after the uprising at the end of episode 3 that they were pretty much made extinct. The Darksaber itself is a black bladed lightsaber that has a very distinct design that resembles a traditional sword due to its hilt and angular pommel. This extremely powerful weapon is actually capable of parrying other lightsaber blades, and its black kyber crystal can also be used as a conduit for force energy. Though a lot shorter than most lightsabers, the blade's size and intensity changes depending on the emotions of the person wielding it. For example, the more passionate and involved you get, the bigger it becomes. I've got a sword like that. It grows when you get passionate and that. Never mind. It's one of the most sought after weapons in the entire Star Wars universe, and no doubt Gideon went to great lengths to get it. Now, what exactly is a Moff? Well, when it comes to the ranking of Moff, this is a high position within the Empire that actually grants the officer with a sector of space that they have to govern. Though Gideon is not a Grand Moff, which is a ranking that we've seen in films like A New Hope with Grand Moff Tarkin, he still possesses a wealth of control, and though it's never explicitly stated, it is likely that Gideon rules over the sector of space that Navarro exists in. This is likely why he was behind the Mandalorian extinction. We know that they were laying low on the planet, and as it's in his sector, he probably dealt with their downfall personally. Though we know that the character is greatly feared in the area, it's clear that not everyone sees his position as a bad thing, and the client even says at one point that some people in the area would welcome back the peace and prosperity that comes with the Empire's ownership of the planet. When discussing his view of the character, Giancarlo Esposito, who plays the Moff, stated, "In a way, you might call him an underworld character, but you may also look at him as a saviour, as someone who might bring back some order to the world after it's collapsed." It's definitely clear that the actor views him as a hero, someone that will actually restore order to the area. From Cara Dune, we do know that after the defeat of the Empire, that the Republic did begin to get bogged down in its own politics, and the rising of the First Order can be seen as a failing of the Republic's ability to do its job and restore order to the planets. From the places that Mando visited, it's clear that they didn't have the level of stability that they did under the Empire, and before I start saying, make the galaxy great again, it is clear that the Republic weren't cut out to bring order back to the planetary systems. However, we do know that when the Empire take over a planet, that they strip it of its best resources and stamp down any notion of freedom. They also take children, force them into their ranks, and yet you can't really win in a galaxy far, far away. We do know that Gideon originally had his sights set on Baby Yoda because he wished to clone the character, and Dr. Pershing, who appeared earlier in the season, was wearing the same crest that the Camino cloners used to, so he was likely put in place to make duplicates of the youngling. Star Wars lore has changed very heavy recently, and whereas at one point it was difficult to clone Force-sensitive beings, we do know now from the new Disney trilogy that this is achievable under the right circumstances. It's unlikely that Gideon has stopped this quest even in the face of his crushing defeat, and the character is still now likely solely set on obtaining the youngling and also killing Din Djarin in the process. If you thought that Gideon was bad before, then you've seen nothing yet. This was him trying to negotiate with Mando and bring about their capture as peaceful as possible, but now that he has a vendetta against the character, he will no doubt be throwing everything that he can at the new clan of 2. I can't wait for Season 2, which has now been announced for fall 2020 by Jon Favreau on Twitter, and who knows what will happen when the two meet face to face again. Now obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Moff Gideon and what you think will be happening with the character in the future. Comment below and let me know, and if you enjoyed this video then please force push that like button, and make sure you check out our full breakdown of episode 8, which will be linked at the end. We go over all of the Easter eggs in the final entry, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. We've also created a full playlist of breakdowns on characters such as Baby Yoda, Cara Dune, and just the show in general, so definitely give that a watch after this. If you want to come chat to me after the video, then make sure you follow me on Twitter at DefinitionYT, or head over to my Discord server, which will be linked in the description below. We drop videos on there early, so if you want to see stuff before anyone else, then that's the best place to be. It's free to join and we have an awesome community, so hopefully I see you over there very soon. We're also giving away a free copy of Joker, which is one of our favourite movies of the year, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts on Moff Gideon in the comment section below. The winner's going to be chosen at random on the 15th of January, and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. This is a channel for people who are never missing television, so if that's the kind of thing you like, you need to subscribe to Definition. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this. You've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.